Welcome to the dark Reddit Rainforest. Don't forget your hat, rope and boots. We are heading into the forest for some loot. Redditors who had sex with their best friend. How did it happen and did your friendship change afterwards? Serious. I slept with my close guy friend for months after going through a hard breakup with someone else. We were able to stay friends afterwards, but things have definitely changed for the worse now that he has a new GF. She's said before that she feels uncomfortable around me, which I understand. Any person he dates from now on is probably going to feel that way, so I know we'll never get back the close friendship we had. Definitely something I never thought about when I chose to cross that line. To be honest, this happens a lot even without the sex. When people get BF/GF. She just got more reason to be cautious now. I spent my 4 years of high school with a good boyfriend, but my best friend was broken up within the same week I was. In a super similar way, right after the summer of our graduation. We kinda bonded over it, and he kissed me because of emotions but I told him I did not feel the same, and he was really respectful about it. He joined the Navy, and I sent him a bunch of letters in boot camp. A few months later, I saved up and flew 2,000 miles to go visit him on base. We stayed the weekend together, and sex happened. To be completely honest with you, after he fell asleep I totally flipped out. I was a wreck. I thought we were never going to be able to look one another in the eye afterward. But we got up, had breakfast in a little cafe, and went to the library holding hands. We have been together since. I love him more than life itself. I have never been in a relationship that felt more natural and healthy. We still talk like old friends. He calls me darling dearest. I'm enamored. Congratulations. I consider it you won. Well, Ed always liked her, but did not want to risk the friendship. Turns out she was thinking the same thing the whole time. For about 5 years. She was just a physically affectionate friend to everyone, so I did not think anything of her constantly touching me in ways that would usually be considered flirting. At some point one of our mutual friends, who I had not told, let slip by accident that she had a mega crush on me, and I could not believe it. I asked my friend, and she said it was true. I confided my feelings as well, and we got busy fast. Because we both felt we'd spent enough time together to be sure of each other, and now it's been a year and a half. And we're still together and still in that honeymoon phase. I'm a very lucky dude, and I know everyone would not be so lucky, but there is hope my dudes. I had a nearly identical situation. We just had our first year anniversary of being married, and a total of 5 years together. Life's so very good with her, and I wish you a happy future like the one I'm currently experiencing. Ruined a perfectly good friendship. We later married, and have been together ever since. Us too. The friendship's actually still going kinda well now. Too. After 17 years of marriage, which is handy in a lockdown. Think it'll go make us both some coffee. Duck you as and your happiness. And congratulations. Friends for almost 10 years. He got embarrassed about still being a virgin going into his second year of college. Being the great friend I was, I agreed to sleep with him platonically so he could have his first time nervousness free. After that, we never really talked about it for about 2 years. Unless it was a joke. We continued our friendship like nothing happened. After those 2 years went by we somehow ended up in a sexual relationship again. After a drunk night at college, we continued this relationship for a few months. Progressing from purely sexual into a romantic relationship. I really thought we were finally about to get it right. And maybe this was the way it was always supposed to be. It was heaven. It was bliss. But then he got an actual girlfriend and never talked to me again. Edit wow. Thank you everyone for all of the positive comments. It's been about 3 years since this happened, and they are still together. Which admittedly still bothers me. I really had no idea he was seeing anyone else. Hence why I was so blindsided and hurt. This did cause a lot of trust issues that I still struggle with, but it was an important lesson to learn. If they ever break up and he tries reaching out to me, I'm strong enough now not to be there. I went over to his house one day to hang out. We had joked about just having sex with each other, since neither of us were getting any. And well, one thing led to another. We're engaged now. Whoever said it first absolutely was not joking about it. Yeah, apparently he said he thought I was so beautiful the first time he saw me, and had a crush on me ever since we had a math class together in high school. Almost 4 years ago. I could not be happier, he really is the best. We had been close friends for a couple of years, but the sexual tension was palpable. Most people who saw the two of us together thought we were a couple, but we both had too much baggage to get involved. 2 days before I was moving across the country we were drunk as hell. We usually were. And I asked him if he wanted to duck. So we did. For all the sexual tension we had, the sex was not particularly memorable. We spoke a fair amount after I moved, but eventually fell out of touch. I do not know if that was because of the sex or just distance in time. I had this same kind of lead up to a lot of disappointment with my son's mom. We split in 2011, but after the initial cool off just never really got over each other completely. We stayed emotionally married through other relationships in a lot of ways for close to a decade. When things aligned where we were not both in something about a year ago, we tried again. I wanted it to be hot and passionate and rock her world. Instead, I could not stay hard for very long any of the times we tried. Performance anxiety for sure, but it did not live up to the hype we had built up around it. I'm really sad about it still, because it's so hard seeing her with other people and it's so hard for her seeing me move on too. We just lacked the sexual chemistry with each other despite the amount of love between us. We were friends, agreed to be FWB, are now dating for a couple years now. Other than the sexual aspect of it, we're still two goofballs who make each other laugh. So nothing really changed all that much. So, it only brought you closer together? Congrats. We got married and stopped having sex. In that order. Oops. This even happens when it's so not your best friend who you marry. Speak for yourself. So, this is a long story. My best friend and I have a bit of an age difference. 8 years. We met when she was 18 and I was 26. I did not really take her seriously as any kind of romantic or sexual partner, because that was quite a bit younger than I felt comfortable with. Also, she's one of those Asians who looks way younger than she actually is. She was cool, though, well traveled, highly intelligent, and we got along well. So we became friends. Years went by, we became better and better friends. Until we were talking on the phone basically every day about pretty much anything. We were living in different states at that point. We had kind of turned each other into the one constant as everything else in our lives changed. Occasionally, we'd see each other in person as we'd pass through each of 30 states on our way somewhere else. At this point, things were still completely platonic. That did not stop whatever girlfriend of mine or boyfriend of hers to be pretty put off by our friendship though. In retrospect, it's so totally understandable why, but I had a hard time seeing it while I was in the middle of living it. When she was about 23 or 24, and I was in my early 30s, she decided she was going to hitch a ride with me for one leg of a road trip so she could visit family. We ended up getting caught in a huge windstorm in Wyoming. It got so bad, they ended up shutting down the interstate in front and behind us. So we had to get a hotel room for a couple days while it was all cleared. I'm sure you can see where this is going. One thing led to another and we ended up having sex. Here's the thing though, nothing changed afterwards, except we'd usually find time to bone when we saw each other in person. Other than that, it did not affect our friendship in the slightest. Until about 3 years later, I had just moved to the same state as her for the first time in almost 6 years. There's a lot more to this part of the story, but it would make an already long story much longer. In short, a few months after I got there, we fell into bed together again, and this time something was different. We officially started dating about 3 days after that and got married 6 months later. We just celebrated 7 years together a few weeks ago. Is it okay if I ask how you guys met? Honestly really curious RN. I was waiting tables on the graveyard shift as a side gig. She was a regular who would come in with her friends and sit all night drinking coffee. Totally blew her friends' minds when she told them years after that she married me. Would not call her my best friend, but a very good friend I grew up with. I wish it never happened. She got super ducking weird afterward and it completely ruined our friendship. After a year of attempting to ease it back to what we had before I got the hint and stopped bothering her, she's engaged now and I was not even invited to the wedding, which really ducking hurts. I thought we had real feelings for each other. Turns out I was just a hookup. Those are the worst. We went to California for about a week to visit some friends and go to a concert. I had been in love for close to 6-7 years, but she had a boyfriend, so I put my feelings to the side. We went and had an absolutely great time. Movie montage type stuff. She'd previously told me how bad her relationship was and how she was not happy anymore and was tired of being treated like a second-class citizen, and I joked about how I would treat her better, and I guess that stuck with her because we had our first kiss. It was awkward. I blew it right before heading out to meet with friends and I guess had our first official date at Disneyland the next day. We have been together just over 2 years now and am planning on proposing the next time we're in California. P.S. Coronavirus, please leave, I have waited long enough. What about the sex? She got me sober, so I can actually feel and remember everything now. Lol, 10/10ths would not change a thing. We ducked the first time we were left alone together. She's currently reading to 2 of our kids. So I got both. Looks like you were both bound to be together. Congrats on the success. Following her breaking up with a guy she had been with for a couple years, we had sex about 4 times the last month of senior year, after being super close friends all throughout high school. It was no secret that I had a thing for her the entire time, but she never really saw me that way. At that point we just kinda got stuck in this weird limbo between not wanting to date, but not being able to go back to being friends, and wound up getting into a huge fight before she left the state for college. Obviously the friendship was never truly rekindled, but we still talk occasionally. She wound up getting back together with a guy and only seems to text me when Malak is not going right with him. A mutual friend told me that she had said she regretted not dating me, but at this point duck that. I'm not gonna be a dick, but she had her chance. That's so not being a dick. That's so just setting boundaries. We were really best friends. We grew up together, went to school together, had our first kiss together. Then she started to date older guys and there was never a chance. But when we were 19 she broke up with some dude and we were hanging out and it just happened. I was a lot less experienced sexually than her, and I think she was disappointed because I really had no clue what I was doing. I tried my best, but it was just my 4th time ever having sex. The next day she told me it was a mistake and we should just continue to be friends. I played it cool, but inside I was very disappointed because I really liked her for many years and I thought it would develop into a great relationship. That was my only chance and I blew it. She left the country after that for school and we just grew apart. We do not talk anymore. Bro, you deserve better. Oh, I know, and I knew it then. This is a story with a happy continuation for me. This was 20 years ago. Now I'm happily married with the most wonderful woman. That girl I liked a lot. This one I love, haha. It went really bad. I confessed that I liked him, and he told me he felt the same, and things lead to another, and I thought it was gonna be a start of something new for us. I invited him to hang out with me the next day, and when he arrived to my house, and he was with this girl I never seen before, and he told me, oh, this is my now fiance, and after that day I never saw him again. He was your best friend, but you did not know he was in a relationship, let alone engaged. No, he never talked about him being in a relationship at all. Sounds like he wasn't your best friend. Duck that dude. We were best friends in high school, pretty much inseparable. We ended up going to the same university, but grew apart there somewhat. She made a new group of friends, and so did I. After a year of not hanging out much, she messaged me on AIM. This was the early 2000s, and asked if I wanted to hang out and watch a movie. I said sure. It would be great to catch up and talk about old times. She had other ideas, and we ended up having sex that night. It did not change our relationship much. We continued to grow apart, and after college we pretty much never talked again. She wanted the shaft and knew she could count on you. I have had sex with 2 very close friends and I would say both experiences were positive. In the first case, I became very good friends with a woman I met at a bar. We would hang out and watch movies or play board games once or twice a week. We're both sex positive people and would talk openly about sex, and we were comfortable being nude around each other. I asked her several times if we could have NSA sex and she always declined. I stopped asking, and then one night we got on the subject of kissing. She wanted to test drive my technique. She gave me a few pointers and I did not think too much of it. Then she went into the kitchen and asked me to come see her. She did not say anything but just knelt in front of me and undid my pants and gave me a BJ. Then she asked me to sit on a chair. She took off her clothes and sat on me. I was completely surprised. We had sex several more times over the years, but it was never a big deal and it never affected the friendship. She's still one of my best friends. The second time happened with my friend/roommate. We were playing cards and drinking wine and we started talking about sex. She got up to do the dishes and I went behind her and wrapped my arms around her and kissed her neck. She turned around and gave me the duck me eyes, but I chickened out. She came into my room later that night to get a dog and we ended up making out. She told me this cannot happen tonight and she told me to finish myself off. The next day, she knocked on my door and told me we needed to talk. I thought she was going to ask me to move out, but she told me that we were adults and would not be hurting each other if we had some nookie every once in a while. We ended up becoming live-in FWBs for about a month until she got a BF. It never affected our friendship in the least. How in the world do you find friends like that? I think it is him, not the friends. I have known a few guys can do that with almost any woman. I slept with my best friend from my teenage years a few weeks after her long-term serious girlfriend, my close friend, cheated on her. We were friends at the time, but not too close. She came to visit a mutual friend while she suspected her girlfriend was cheating, and basically it was confirmed while we were all hanging out. She was heartbroken, and I ended up going back home with her to help her kick her girlfriend / my friend out. It was a real malarkey show, and she was heartbroken, and it put me in an awkward spot since I was actually close to the girlfriend at the time. She has completely alienated everyone else to run off with her 18. Still in high school, new girlfriend and totally changed. We slept together, and it was incredibly awkward and honestly terrible, but we ended up spending more time together and eventually dated and getting married next month now. This happened about 7 years ago. So I met my best friend online in high school through a mutual interest. The summer after I graduated, I went to stay with him and his family for 2 weeks. He knew I was gay. He had a girlfriend who I became fairly close to. I had such an amazing time and really felt like I belonged for the first time in a long while. He and I would play fight / wrestle during our time there, which slowly became more affectionate, I guess, resulting in cuddling. Up to this point, I was a total virgin, had not been kissed or anything by a man or woman. So it was all very exciting, but I also did not think much of it, because IDK, I was 18, and he had a girlfriend. I was dumb. One night on the last few days we were there, he said to me, "I think I might be gay," and I said something dumb like, "I mean you're only gay if you're attracted to men." He said something about how he's so attracted to one. I did not press, and I think I hit him with a pillow. We ended up cuddling that night. The next morning, he kissed me. It was my first kiss. That evening, things escalated rather quickly. The next day, we had sex. I think it was the night before I was supposed to leave, too. He cried because I was leaving. I cried because I was leaving. It was a very emotional moment. I remember crying hard on the airplane ride home. We dated for a few months afterward, but unfortunately I was insane and let jealousy get the best of me and tried pitting him against his friends. It obviously did not work for me, and I'm glad it did not, because 4 months later, we broke up, but I insisted on wanting to still be his friend. Have nothing change. Of course, that was impossible and things changed immensely. Despite my efforts, we became very distant people. I tried to ignore it, but it was very apparent whenever we'd meet up later in life with a mutual friend. When we broke up, he thanked me, as he said our relationship proved he could not be gay because he'd realized he'd never be comfortable admitting such a thing. He seems to be doing very well in life, with a good job. He's since come out to his family, and he has had a boyfriend for the last few years. I cannot say life has really worked out for me in a similar way, but I'm glad he eventually found peace with who he is. Not my best friend, but a very, very close friend. We tried the FWB thing for a little while, but eventually developed romantic feelings for each other and made the mutual decision to break it off because we were both gonna be separated soon and neither of us wanted to do long distance. I have learned that there's such a thing as being too close to someone. That girl was, and still is, one of my biggest support systems. ABD has been for the past year and a half. We liked each other a lot, but our mental states were not great, and if we started dating we would have been risking a messy breakup. And if I ever lost such an important person in my life, I do not know what it'd do. She felt the same way. We still talk all the time about life, the future and our problems, as well as trade memes from time to time. I love making her laugh, but she's still one of my closest friends. A person I can talk to about anything, and I'm more than happy with that. I'll miss the cuddles though. It destroyed the best friendship I have had yet. A bunch of her friends and mine were not surprised at all when it happened. We partied pretty hard a few nights in a row, and one thing led to another. 2 weeks later she broke it off, and it turned into a hard situation as I had developed feelings for her. We tried to go back to normal, but the very next week she was talking about how bad she wanted to duck this one chick we both knew, and was letting dudes at the bar hit/kiss on her. She admitted when she broke things off that she knew I had feelings for her going into it, which left me feeling used. Like she tried me out and decided I was not good enough and moved on. I felt and still feel extremely used by someone who told me they loved me at the end of phone calls, even before I developed feelings, and we had our moments together. A similar situation had happened between me and another chick I consider a close friend only 3 months before. As well, it sent me into a depression. I lost control and blew up on her a few times. and I totaled my car a few weeks later because I was driving and was way too upset to be behind the steering wheel of a car that day. She blocked me on everything and broke contact soon after, and I recently realized she has begun to unblock me from her social media platforms. But I don't think we can ever work things out in a meaningful way again. I'm just waiting on a message from her I don't think I'll ever receive. I miss my best friend. I just want her back in my life. Brings me to tears just to type it out like this, but it's so also relieving to get it out there. Me and my friend were hanging out with a couple other friends. We were playing truth or dare. We got dared to spend 10 minutes in the bathroom together. We were in there. Pretty awkward at first, but we ended up making out and touching each other. We were in there for 15 minutes before we realized it was time to get out. We come out. Everyone left. Check phone. Friends left to get food. We ended up ducking on the couch. Friends came back and we all ate. Friend, so what happened between you guys? Me, we ducked hardcore. Friend, yeah right, haha. Me, no seriously. Friend, sure man, whatever you have to say. We ended up sleeping in the same bed later that night after everyone fell asleep. We dated for a while. It ended up not working out, but we are still friends with benefits. And also best friends too. Leave a like. Since you made it this far, subscribe if you have not already for more videos exploring the rainforest of Reddit. Thanks for watching.